Predictors of Success in Students with Learning Disabilities. The Frostig Center was founded in 1951 and provides academic and support services for students with learning disabilities from grades K to 12 in the Pasadena, California area. Over the years, staff at the Frostig noticed that the students showed significant variation in how successful they became. For example, Jason and Mark were diagnosed as learning disabled around 10 years of age. They attended the center and were identified to be at risk educationally and socially. However, Jason is in a state penitentiary serving a life sentence for murder, whereas Mark is president of a successful software company. Why? The study was designed to search for patterns of change and the factors, conditions, events, and contexts that may act individually or in combination to produce specific life outcomes. The study is a longitudinal project tracing the lives of a group of individuals with LD who attended the center between 1968 and 1975. Information on participants was collected at 4. Entry at the Frostig Center, leaving the Frostig Center, at year 10 and at year 20. Participants were identified as successful or unsuccessful using a multi-dimensional definition of success. Interviews were focused on 5 areas: employment and educational history, residential and household economic arrangements throughout informant's lives, family relationships both of family of origin and family of descent, community and social relations outside the family, personal beliefs, values and aspirations, behaviors, and feelings on a number of topics. 2 areas were considered for the 20-year follow-up: physical health and psychological health. The researchers identified 6 attributes of the participants who had been successful: self-awareness, proactivity, perseverance, emotional stability, appropriate goal setting, and the presence and use of effective support systems. Self-awareness. Both successful and unsuccessful groups were clearly able to describe the types of problems they had as children, and were able to differentiate between academic problems, academic-related problems such as organizational difficulties, or non-academic difficulties such as motor deficits or emotional behavioral problems. The one component of self-awareness that differentiated the successful from the unsuccessful participants was the ability to compartmentalize their disability. Successful participants were able to see their learning disabilities as one component of their identity. They did not define themselves only by their disability. This type of self-awareness allowed many successful participants to find compatible and appropriate employment in adulthood. It's still there and I compensate. I think the problems that I had were no different than anybody else who is conscious of their weaknesses and then some of their strengths. Some people are not conscious at all. Successful participants were individuals with learning disabilities who were engaged in the world around them. These participants were involved in community activities and took an active role in their families, neighborhoods, and friendship groups. They reported taking leadership roles and demonstrated social networking skills. A critical component of proactivity was the successful participant's ability to make decisions and assume full responsibility for the outcome. Successful participants often consulted others while making decisions and were flexible when considering options. Unsuccessful participants were unable to think about several possible solutions, showed passivity by making no decisions, or were too rigid in the execution of their decisions. Perseverance. Both successful and unsuccessful participants kept going despite adversity. Successful participants demonstrated a variety of strategies that allowed them to persevere. Specifically, they were able to know when to quit and were able to be flexible in response to failure. Further, they indicated that they had learned through their struggles. Many saw their perseverance as an area of strength. I am most proud of my ability to keep going. I have learned to keep going no matter what people said, no matter if it was inspired by anger or revenge or whatever. Still, it's the ability to keep plodding along. Goal setting. Successful participants continuously set goals. Goals remained specific yet flexible for new opportunities. Their goals covered multiple areas of their lives and were concrete, realistic, and attainable. Goals included a strategy to attain their goals outlined in concrete steps. Unsuccessful participants' goals were often vague, unrealistic, or grandiose. Presence and use of effective social support systems. Both participants referred to support they had received throughout their lives. Successful participants showed their ability to reciprocate in personal relationships. Some had even switched roles with family members taking care of aging parents or siblings. A key distinction between the two groups was that successful participants had significant others who held clear and realistic expectations of them. They guided their participants in identifying realistic goals in a manner that was consistent support, that was not harsh or critical. They were also more likely to reach out for and accept support. Unsuccessful participants remained very dependent on their significant others and referred to them as caretakers. One male participant stated, "My parents built a guest house for me. They built a mother-in-law addition to their house. I live in their guest house on their property. Basically, I keep it clean, but that's about it. My car insurance is paid for by my parents. They buy the food." Emotional stability, emotional coping strategies. All participants reported that growing up with an LD had created significant stress in their lives, resulting in psychological difficulties, i.e., feelings of depression, panic attacks, and anxiety. Successful participants were able to identify situations that triggered stress and developed effective ways of dealing with and coping with these difficulties. The two coping strategies that separated successful and unsuccessful participants were maintaining good peer relationships and keeping socially active. Of particular interest, participants all recalled struggling with accepting their learning disability. Many reported having to go through similar stages towards acceptance, including awareness of difference, the labeling event, acceptance, negotiation of the label, and compartmentalization. The results of the 10-year study outlined themes for all participants. These were: having a learning disability is an ongoing condition that does not go away. Persons with LD face life stressors in addition to their learning disability. Individuals with LD tend to be late bloomers. Comorbidity counts. Although the group as a whole appeared to retain good to excellent health from year 10, 4 of the participants also had physical disabilities, not identified, but possibly present in childhood, in addition to their learning disability. These difficulties were crucial in determining success for these individuals, i.e., in spite of very high scores on the success attributes, these informants did not make it. This research proposes the need to examine current educational practices for students with LD. While interventions that involve remediation strategies aimed at improving academic performance are necessary, the study concluded that the success attributes were more predictive of success than academic performance. In essence, interventions need to be expanded to include interventions that foster and promote the development of the success attributes in students with learning disabilities.